it's Miss Spencer. Today we're going to be reviewing what we've gone over in the past 2 weeks. We're going to start with place value, then move on to powers of 10 or exponents, then we'll be decimals and comparing decimals. After, we'll be rounding whole numbers and rounding decimals, and finally, we're going to be multiplying whole numbers. So let's start with place value. Here we have our place value chart. We see the decimal point, and we know that to the left of the decimal point is the ones place, tens place, hundreds place, and thousands place. To the right of the decimal is going to be the tenths place, hundredths place, and thousandths place. Here we can see that 1 unit represents 1 1. If we want to make 110, we need 10 ones. So since we need 10 ones to make one group of 10, we know that the tens place is 10 times more than the 10 times more than the ones place. We also need 10 tens in order to make 100. So we know that the hundreds place is 10 times greater than the tens place. We can continue this pattern and see that we need 10 hundredths to make 1,000, so the thousands place is 10 times more than the hundreds place. We can also see that we would need 10 tenths to make 1 1, so the ones place is 10 times greater than the tenths place. The tenths place is 10 times greater than the hundredths place, and the hundredths place is 10 times greater than the thousands place. Every time we move one place value to the left, we know that we're getting 10 times bigger. Going the other way, we know that if 10 divided by 10 is 1, so the ones place is 1/10 of the tens place. 1 1 would be 1/10 of a tens rectangle. Here we see that the tens place is 1/10 the size of the value of the ones place. The hundredths place is 1/10 the value of the tens place, and the thousands place is 1/10 the value of the hundredths place. The tens place is 1/10 the value of the hundreds place, and finally, the hundreds place is 1/10 the value of the thousands place. Let's continue on with doing the powers of 10 or exponents. Remember here that the big number here at the bottom is the base, and the smaller number on top is the exponent. The exponent tells us how many times we are multiplying the base. So here, 10 to the power of 1 means that we're multiplying 10 one time. 10 times 1 is 10. And here we have 10 to the power of 2. So that means that we're multiplying 10 times 10. So we're multiplying 10 two times. 10 times 10 is 100. Here we're missing the power of 10, but we can see that we're multiplying 10 1, 2, 3 times. We already know that 10 times 10 is 100. It's 100. So 100 times 10 is 1,000. That's where we get 1,000 in standard form. And we're multiplying 10 three times. So our power of 10 would be 10 to the power of 3. In the next one, we see that we're multiplying 10 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So our power of 10 is going to be 10 to the power of 4. We see here that 10 times 10 is 100, and 10 times 10 is 100. So 100 times 100 is 10,000. Finally, we're going to do 10 to the power of 5. Our base here is 10, and our exponent is 5. So we're multiplying 10 5 times. Here, we already know that 10 times 10 times 10 is 1,000. 1,000 times 10 is 10,000, and 10,000 times 10 is 100,000. Let's move on to multiplying by powers of 10. Here we see 3 and 8 tenths times 10 to the power of 2. For the first thing we're going to do is rewrite the exponent in standard form. So we're going to rewrite this equation as 3 and 8 tenths times 100 because 10 to the power of 2 is 100. Next, we're going to place the digits in our place value chart. Here's our place value chart. We're going to write 3 and 8 tenths. Now we're going to move the digits to the correct number of places. When we're multiplying by 10, we're moving one place value to the left. But here, we're multiplying by 100. So we're going to be moving two place values to the left. 1, 2. 10 times 10 is 100. So the 3 is now going to be in the hundreds place. Remove the 8 in the tenths place to the 8 in the tens place. There's nothing here in the ones place, so we know that's 0, 1. Because remember, here, if there's nothing in the hundreds place, that's just 0 hundredths. So our final answer is 380. Now we're going to be dividing by powers of 10. We see here that we have 15 divided by 10 to the power of 3. The first thing we're going to do is rewrite the exponent in standard form. So we have 15 divided by 1,000 because 10 to the power of equals 1,000. Now we're going to place the digits in our place value chart. We're going to place the 1 in the tens place and the 5 in the ones place. We're dividing by 1,000, so that means we're going to be moving the digits 3 places to the right. 10 times 10 is 100, times 10 is 1,000, which is why we're moving them 3 digits, or 3 places, I'm sorry. So the 5 is now in the thousands place, and the 1 is in the hundreds place. Here, we know that if there's 0 hundreds, that now there's going to be 0 tenths. Remember, if there's a blank space in your place value chart, that just means there's 0 of that place value. So our final answer is 0 and 15 thousandths. Now we're going to rewrite decimals in standard form, word form, unit form, and expanded form. Let's start with standard form. Standard form is how we usually see a number, the standard way. So here we have 45 and 102 thousandths. The way I said it is how we're going to write it in word form. 45, you say everything before the decimal like you normally would, and for the decimal point, 102, you say everything after the decimal point, just like you would normally read a number, but you include the place value of the last digit. The 2 is in the thousandths place, which is why we include the thousandths, 45 and 102 thousandths. A unit form we can write in a few different ways. We're just saying the digit and then the place value that it's in. One way to say it would be 4 tens, because the 4 is in the tens place, 5 ones, 1 tenth, 2 thousandths. Notice we didn't include the hundredths because there's 0 hundredths. Another way we can write it is by saying 45 ones, because here we have 45 total ones, and then 102 thousandths because in total we have 102 thousandths. A third way we can write it is by writing 4 tens, 51 tenths, and 2 thousandths. All of those answers are correct. Finally, with expanded form, we're going to write the digit and then the place value it's in. We can write this in using fractions or decimals. We're going to start with fractions. The 4 is in the tens place, so it's 4 times 10. 5 is in the ones place, so 5 times 1. 1 is in the tenths place, so 1 times 1 tenth. And the 2 is in the thousands place, so 2 times 1,000th. Another way we can write it is by using decimals. So notice all of this is the same except for the 1/10 that was written as a fraction is written as a decimal, and the 1,000th that was written as a fraction is written as a decimal. Now we're going to be comparing decimals. So here we have 1 and 5 tenths compared to 1 and 5 hundredths. We're going to start with the place value chart and inserting our digits into the place value chart. Always start with the biggest place value. So in this case, that's the ones place. Notice that both digits in the ones place is 1. So we're going to move on to the tenths place. Here we have a 5 in the tenths place compared to a 0 in the tenths place. The 5 in the tenths place is bigger, so 1 and 5 tenths is bigger. Let's try another one. We have 16 and 2 tenths compared to 16 and 20 hundredths. We're going to have our place value chart and insert our numbers into the place value chart. Notice in the tens place, since that's the biggest place value, we both have ones in the tens place. We're going to move on to the ones place and see that both digits are 6. So there's 6 ones in both numbers. We're going to move to the tenths place. There's 2 tenths in both of the numbers. Now we're going to move on to the hundredths place. Notice we have a blank spot in the hundredths place in our first number. If there's a blank or empty spot in your place value chart, that just means there's 0 hundredths. So we're going to insert a 0 in the hundredths place, and now we can compare the hundredths. We see that both numbers have 0 hundredths. So that means that both numbers are equal to each other. Now we're going to round to the nearest whole number. Remember that whole number is ones place. So we're going to be rounding 1 and 3 tenths to the ones place. First, we're going to write in our place value chart. We have 1 and 3 tenths. Now we're going to plot these numbers on a number line. Here, since we're rounding to the ones place, we see that there's a 1 in the ones place, so we're going to start a number line with 1. 1 more 1 than 1 is 2 ones. So our number line is going to end at 2. We know that we're going to insert 10 spaces in between the 1 and the 2, and each of these marks is going to represent 1 tenth. So there's 10 tenths between 1 and 2, which is why we have 10 spaces between 1 and 2. Let's plot 1 and 3/10 on the number line. Here we can see that 1 and 3/10 is closer to 1 than it is to 2. So 1 and 3/10 rounds to 1 when rounded to the nearest whole number. Let's try rounding 3 and 46/100ths to the nearest tenths place. We're going to start by inserting our numbers in a place value chart. We can see here that we have 34/10. So our number line is going to start with 34/10 or 3 and 4/10. One more tenth than 3 and 4/10 is 3 and 5/10. So the end of our number line is going to be 3 and 5/10. We're going to insert 10 spaces in between 3 and 4/10 and 3 and 5/10 because there's 10 hundredths between 3 and 4/10 and 3 and 5/10. We're going to plot our 3 and 46/100ths on our number line, and we can see that 3 and 46/100ths is closer to 3 and 5/10. So 3 and 46/100ths rounds to 3 and 5/10 when rounded to the nearest tenths place. Finally, we're going to round 1 and 234,000ths to the nearest hundredths place. Let's start by inserting these into our place value chart. We can see that there's 1 and 23/100ths or 123/100ths in this number. So we're going to start our number line at 1 and 23/100ths. One more hundredth than 1 and 23/100ths is 1 and 24/100ths. So we're going to have our number line end at 1 and 24/100ths. We're going to have 10 spaces between 1 and 23/100ths and 1 and 24/100ths. Each mark represents 1,000th. So we're going to plot 1 and 234,000ths on our number line. We can see that our point is closer to 1 and 23/100ths than it is to 1 and 24/100ths. So 1 and 234,000ths rounds to 1 and 23/100ths when rounded to the nearest hundredths place. Now let's multiply. We're going to be multiplying this 3-digit by 3-digit number. Always start by multiplying in the ones place. So we're going to be multiplying 345 times 6. Let's start by multiplying 6 times 5, which is 30. We have a 0 in the ones place, carry the 3 to the tens place. Now we're going to multiply 6 times 4 tens. So 6 1 times 4 tens is 24 tens, plus the 3 tens we carried over is 27 tens, which is why the 7 is in the tens place and the 2 is carried to the hundreds place. Now we're going to multiply 6 ones times 300. So 6 ones times 300 is 1800, plus the 200s we carried over is 2000. So here, 345 times 6 equals 2070. Now we're going to be multiplying 345 times 1 in the tens place. So we're multiplying 345 times 10. Notice we crossed out the digits at the top because we've already used them. Let's start by multiplying 110 times 5 ones, which is 50, or 5 tens. That's why we're putting the 0 in the tens place. So we have the 5, 1, 10 times 5 ones is 5 tens, putting the 5 in the tens place. Now we're going to be multiplying 110 times 4 tens, which is 400, which is why the 4 is in the hundreds place. Finally, we're going to multiply 110 times 300, which is 3,000s, which is why 3 is in the thousands place. 345 times 10 is 3,450. Now we're going to be multiplying 345 times 2 in the hundreds place, so we're multiplying 345 times 200. So because the 2 is in the hundreds place, we're going to put a 0 in the ones place and a 0 in the tens place. That way, when we multiply 200s times 5 ones, which is 10 hundreds, we're going to be able to put the 0 in the hundreds place in our answer and carry the 1 over to the thousands place. 200s times 4 tens is 8,000, plus 1,000 is 9,000. The 9 is going in the thousands place. Now we're going to be multiplying 200 times 300s. So now we're going to be having 6 10,000s. 345 times 200 is 69,000. We can go ahead and add these up. Starting in the ones place, 0 plus 0 plus 0 is 0. 7 tens plus 5 tens is 12 tens. So we're going to put a 2 in the tens place. Carry the 1 to the hundreds place. Notice it's not going all the way up to the top. It's going over here because we're still adding it. Now we're going to be adding 400s plus 100, which is 500s. 9,000s plus 3,000s is 12,000, plus 2,000 is 14,000. Pairing the 1 right here above the 6 in the 10,000s place. 6 10,000s plus 1 10,000 is 7 10,000s. So our answer is 74,520.